Hey everyone, Sam here, one half of the Tiny Table Talks team. This week is going to be a little different, and let me tell you why. So if you've been with us for the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about things that make Quakers unique, and we're going to get back to that. But we would be remiss if we did not take this opportunity to address things that are happening right now. As a church, we're meant to bring the kingdom to earth right now, not sometime in the far off future. So again, we would be remiss to not address what's happening in the world. And by that, I mean, what happened recently to the community in Boulder, Colorado? What happened recently to the Asian Americans in Atlanta, Georgia? We are being inundated with injustice at all sides. And I don't know about you, but I don't know what to do. I feel stuck sometimes between wanting to rest because it feels too overwhelming, but knowing that so many people don't get a break. So many people don't get to rest. How do you rest when there is unrest? So when I feel overwhelmed in times like this, and I venture to think that maybe some of you do as well, I turn to who I think is a brilliant mind for this age, Nadia Bolz-Weber, just to see if she has anything that would address this current situation. As we were going through Nadia Bolz-Weber's blog posts, she had an excerpt from a sermon from one of her friends that was specifically for Good Friday. And when I tell you that I read it and my eyes started to sear with the heat and the wetness that comes from just emotion from deep within, an emotional release, seeing these words on paper, I was so impacted, and I knew right away that this is what we needed to share this week. So as we continue to fight and stand in solidarity and to continue to make room at the table, let these words about the death and resurrection of Christ, again, especially as we transition into Holy Week, let these words maybe be of comfort to you.
Crucifixion is always an act of terror, meant to carry a message to the entire population that the rulers of the world are all powerful and can crush anyone they choose. In Jesus' time, the cross meant not just punishment for criminals and troublemakers, but shame for their families, who are marked forever by the scandal. Being crucified was to be made into a public example. Your pain and humiliation were complete. Your body became so disfigured you no longer looked like a person. You were turned into a broken nothing. The mere threat of death on the empire's cross led people to betray each other. It kept them in their places, separated and afraid to offer solidarity. And it still does, evoking our deepest fears of being cast out, mocked, hurt, or violently erased, stigmatized by association with the wrong people. Today's forms of crucifixion leave me afraid to care for the imprisoned, afraid to challenge the violent, too busy or guilty or helpless to even stand next to the families of the dead and weep. And so the only good word we have is Jesus, who speaks to us from terrible place. Jesus comes in frail moral flesh like our own, to all those who, persecuted by the state, refuse to abandon their humanity, to all those who, entrapped into carrying out the empire's dirty work, despair, to all those who lament their murdered children and their devastated people. Jesus confronts the rulers of the world who wield deadly force, speaking the word of God's liberating love. You would have no power over me unless it were given you from above. We might witness the crucifixion of Jesus, of Jessica Hernandez, of Michael Brown, and Tamir Rice, and more recently our AAPI families who not only have been affected by the events in Atlanta, but a continuing rise of hate crime and violence. Without running away or pretending it's not real or that we're not responsible, we must look upon the one we have pierced without flinching. And we must witness how Jesus gathers all people, the corrupt judges, cynical torturers, bored soldiers, scapegoating crowds, condemned thieves, cowardly friends, and devastated followers, to himself. What he says is, "Forgive them all, Father." And then he breathes the Spirit on us. "Woman," he says to Mary, "behold your son," and to his friend, "Behold your mother." This is the good news and the radical challenge of resurrection. Jesus, with his broken body, breaks down the walls that divide humanity and makes us into a new family, children of God. And if we are to remember his death and enter his life, we must take up in a new way the familiar human cross of being a son, a mother, a friend. We must turn to and claim each other, neighbors, strangers, enemies, and refuse to be separated. He has given us to one another. Let us love one another as he has loved us.